Let me just go back really quick. People sometimes are like, I cannot believe you did that to your husband. That's terrible. The good thing is I knew Vern was such a go with the flow guy that he was like, okay, I got it.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. We have a special guest. This is probably my longest full-time guest. Yep, they are the longest. So where the other one was 10, this is 11. Pushing over 11 years. They've been doing this. They started actually in a pop-up, which is crazy. They took out a pop-up with the three dogs and 4 kids. And apparently they had fish and hamsters in mix in there, but now they're empty nesters. They're doing this themselves. Welcome, the Nomad Nesters, Vern and Kati. So thank you for joining us today, guys. I'm going to swap you over here. You take the big screen.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Here.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've kind of been going back and forth for a couple months now. And I'm excited to hear your guys' story because 11 years on the road, you guys were doing this before social media was really big. You know, I remember social media, I got to college. I mean, we had Facebook in high school, but 2012, Snapchat became a thing. Instagram became a thing. TikTok didn't come into play until later because Vine was a thing when I was in college. Yeah. And obviously there's other stuff like that, Chive and whatever, all that. But you guys had to figure out how to make money in a totally different manner. But before we get into all that, let's talk about your journey to the road. So if you guys want to open up with that, it's kind of like how it all conspired, what inspired you. Let's get with that.
Kati's story.
Well, we had 4 kids and I went to a fair in Florida and they had an RV and I was like, oh, I could live in an RV. And Vern was like, that would be really fun, but how are the kids going to go to school? How are we going to make money? And so I was really obsessed for about 2 years. So finally I got a pop-up camper, like a 1974 pop-up camper. This was in 2004.
Vintage.
Super vintage. And I took the kids across the United States for about 5, almost 6 months. And about 5 months into it, Vern flew out to Seattle to see us. And
they literally left without me.
Yeah, we left. Poor guy. It was me, the kids, sleeping in Walmart parking lots, like living the dream. And he flew out to Washington. He's like, I really miss you guys. I get your vision. And he even brought this little sign that was like, home is where you park it. And he said, all right, we can make this happen. We'll figure out how to pull it off, make money on the road. So we went back.
But that statement was just I think we can do this. Let's sit down and plan it over, I don't know, the next year and figure it out.
Well, we never talked timelines. No. And so he flew home to Texas. The kids and I drove back about a month later. And a couple weeks later, Vern had a business trip. So I thought, all right, I have 3 days. He's out of town to sell everything we own. Let our landlord know that we're going to give him notice and find an RV, because I knew Vern well enough to know that eventually he'd be okay with that for one. But this was the push.
Eventually, right? I would just.
You're like, oh, he just sold all of my stuff.
I come home from this business trip, and as I pull up in the driveway, my neighbors are walking out with my TV and my couch, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
We're getting a divorce.
Your wife told me everything. I'm like, what? So, yeah.
But long story short, he was real happy about it. It took us we had been prepping for a while, because honestly, back then we had flip phones back then. It was, how do you have a family of 6? Yeah. How do you support them on the road? So Vern started a butterfly business, actually. And that's how we were able to get on the road originally, was by importing and exporting butterflies.
It's weird, but it worked. And so, it was awesome. Yeah. So we went and decided, because I had no furniture in the house to be there, that might as well get out on the road. So we
bought an old fifth wheel,
very old fifth wheel. We bought sight unseen out 4 states away,
$7,500.
Yeah, it was such a funny conversation. We called the guy up and we're like, hey, we talked about it. And I said, okay, we'll take it. And he said, well, do you want to come see it first? And I said, man, I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know the first thing about fifth wheels. So if I come look at it, I'm just pretending. So I might as well just say we'll take it.
Yeah.
So we bought it sight unseen and picked it up, and
we tested it.
We learned a lot.
We love this. It was like an old toy hauler. And then about a year and a half later, we got our first bigger RV. We got a Cyclone. The Cyclone toy haulers came out that year.
Yep.
And we did that with our kids, and we were able to go, all of the United States, Canada, Mexico. We road schooled the whole time.
Yeah.
We stopped when our oldest was she was 17, almost 18. And we took a break for a while. And it's really cool there's a lot of parents we meet on the road, because there's a lot of families now, and they say, I'm worried I might be screwing up my kids, or I hope we're doing the right thing. And it's really cool for us to talk to our kids now, and they say it was the best thing, the best way to grow up, best thing we ever did.
It was awesome. It turned out that my inhibitions and worries were okay to cast aside and let my wife push me out on the road. So it was good.
Good. Yes, dear. Yes, dear.
Exactly.
And he had a smile on his face the whole time. It was awesome.
That's awesome. I actually I'm going to jump into this real quick here. I had a couple weeks ago, I had Heart and Soul. And I asked them about, it actually wasn't Heart and Soul. It was actually A Little Wild, A Lot Free. Yeah. And Naomi and Barry, I believe his name was, they have youngins too. And I was asking what it was like to do athletics on the road, because I wouldn't be the person I am today without having the athletic background that I have. I mean, I ended up playing college sports, and it was that's who made me. And I was wondering, so for you guys, since you're over and done with it all, you pushed them through basically all the way through high school. What did that look like? Because that's a totally different aspect that people probably don't think about. Because I mean, for me, I want my kids to play sports, and especially football. I played college football. I can't not see my kid playing football. So what is that? Can you walk us through that a little bit, and just out of curiosity?
And I grew up baseball through everything. And so, so we obviously, there weren't really organized sports we got to throw them in, but we did at a lot of stops, especially Florida. Yeah. We would throw them into some programs with, whether it was scouts or
karate, baseball, soccer. There weren't a lot of online school programs and things back then. And so, especially in the winter months when we would stay some places a little longer, we would put the kids in soccer for a short time, a 6-week period. They did karate. Yeah. Whatever we could find locally. Yeah, we did karate as a family. Just whatever we could find ways to as a family, because the one thing we wanted to make sure was, the whole point was, we wanted our kids to love learning. And that's how a lot of our travel was. It's hey, what are you interested? If you're interested in surfing, then we're going to go to Florida. We're going to study the tides. We're going to study the weather, and really just hands-on as a family, let everyone have a passion. Yeah. And that was probably the best part, is each of our kids had different passions, and we wanted to make sure they had those experiences, and living on the road made it super easy to do that.
Yeah. One of our kids, our oldest son, was a very big outdoorsy person, and we would travel around to what were they called, the mountain man rendezvous. And he would go up and hang out with these old mountain men and learn how to throw axes and flint knap arrowheads. And so we studied the Lewis and Clark Trail backwards on site across the U.S. and stopped at all these locations and let him see what they did as, those pioneers coming across and mapping out that part of the U.S. and how they survived. And that's still with him today. He has learned that and taken that to heart, and is an amazing outdoorsman. So it's awesome watching how it affected them. That's
really cool. So I'm guessing he hunts and fishes.
Oh yes,
very much. So he's on one that does. Yep.
That's cool. Because I mean, I'm from Nebraska. That's where I grew up and born and raised. So I luckily had farm ground, and I grew up hunting, fishing, whatever it may be. But I always had that, just put me out in the mountains, just do it. Just drop me out there. I'll figure it out. Yes. I still go do it now. I have a bad knee. So I shouldn't go alone, but I want to, but that's really awesome, because I mean, you get that opportunity to do so. I wanted to learn to surf when I was a kid. Couldn't do that. I'm quite landlocked in Nebraska.
Yes, you are.
So I'm still going to get there. I will learn to surf eventually at some point in time. But a lot of things that, I was dove into athletics because that's all I could really do. Yeah. And I loved it. So I was always curious what it's like to be a kid traveling full time. It's just a totally different animal. But I've talked to several people. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would say it is definitely a much broader topic now, because like we spent a lot of time in certain parks in Florida when the kids were growing up and we were RVing. And like Katie had mentioned, our kids were kind of the anomaly. Everything was older generation, and it was very rare to see kids in the RV parks. And I mean, maybe a dozen at any given time at most. Yeah. We went back this last year, and while we were traveling full time along with our grandkids and our daughter and her family, and we were there for Halloween, and they were having a Halloween party for the kids at the park. And there were well over 300 kids in that RV park. And it is a night and day difference. And we love it, because now there is so many opportunities for families to be out there and to gather together and have some community for their kids. So it's great.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it's a nightmare.
I might change it.
So I was, I think that's going to end up being really great for those kids, because they're going to be so much more cultured than anybody, basically everybody. And they're like, I've seen several reels recently come out like, oh, you're hurting your kids' lives doing this to them. But like, it sounds like they have quite the heck of a life doing this.
And I'd love, can I talk about fueling up on friends?
Sure.
This is something I almost had that thought. I was the hesitant one through this whole process. And one of the lingering thoughts in my mind is, we're going to spoil our kids, taking them anywhere they want to go with, no understanding that that's not normal. But we're just giving them everything. And so I started this program with our family, and we called it Fueling Up on Friends. And it was our kids' job to track how much we spent on gas getting from point A to point B. So if it cost $500 in gas to get to our next RV stop, it was their job to call around in that city and find a place that would let the kids volunteer for 500 minutes of service.
So 1 minute for every dollar that we spent.
And so they would go out into the community, do service, and it connected them with so many places we visited on such a different level. It wasn't just the vacation stop. It was, how do we give back? And so many amazing stories came from that. And when you ask our kids about their favorite places they went, it isn't always about the biggest amusement park or the coolest, fair. It's, do you remember when we did that soup kitchen in Pennsylvania? Do you remember when we did, the Christmas thing in Orlando? That's what connected with them. And so, no, to people who think this isn't going to help the kids, they're absolutely wrong. This has been the best growth, life change for our kids that I could ever imagine.
Wow. So you said you made this?
Yeah.
Or you just kind of built it up? Like, it's something you guys built.
Just our family. We just, because, we really wanted, we were at Disney World. We were there for 3 months. We planned to go to Disney World for 4 months. And the big tornadoes hit in Tennessee. Yeah. And we were at Disney, and it was on the news, and our kids were like, man, it's kind of sad that we're here at Disney and all these people are struggling, because it was just devastated, this whole Macomb County. And so that night we packed up our family, we drove to Tennessee, we worked hard, and our kids said, this is so cool, we want to do this. And that's when we started doing the Fueling Up on Friends, because we realized we had the opportunity to go travel, help if we wanted to, but it taught our kids a greater lesson that we were on vacation, we were having a great time, but that also opened up the doors where we could serve and help anywhere we wanted to. Yeah. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that our kids really enjoy about our their whole adventure with us.
Made lifelong friends doing that. We still keep up with a lot of the people that we met doing a lot of that service. So.
Oh, that's really cool. I've never heard of that. That's a new plug we'll have to put in there. Fueling Up on Friends. Everybody listening, check it out.
we loved it, and it changed our kids' lives and ours. It truly did. So,
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out of that for a lot of those people, because again, I was landlocked. I'm social butterfly, but it's not everybody is. So. All right. Well, your guys' preparation and planning was a totally different animal. Sounds like. Vernon, you had no idea it was even happening. And then baptism by fire. Hey, your TV's leaving the house. So is your fridge. So we got to go. So let's walk through that a little bit. So what steps? Sounds like it didn't take, a lot of time to really think this over. But what steps did you take to do this, to prep and plan? And then out of that, how did you choose your first RV? You did kind of say it. You kind of just went and just sight unseen. Hey, I want it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what I'm doing. But looking back, what would you tell someone just trying to select their first RV?
I think Katie did a lot of good research on how do we fit the family into something. So we had a vision of sort of a layout after looking at some plans, and
there weren't a lot of family friendly RVs back then. If you think about it, toy haulers back then, I mean, we were still in the aluminum siding, just a back, toy hauler. Now there's so many options. And so I think it really is trying to figure out what works and fits for your family size wise. And then I think too, like for us, I think the thing that people get worried about is finances. Like, how can you afford it? We chose to just start with something really low cost to make sure we like it, because we never even, neither of us had ever camped before in an RV. So we didn't understand. And we chose to go that route because we knew that we'd be getting another RV later, but we wanted to get our feet wet a little bit. There weren't really YouTube channels and like all the things to figure out. So we're like, all right, let's just do it.
And we made some good beginner mistakes. I mean, we took our first travel or fifth wheel that had the toy hauler. We bought a set of wooden bunk beds instead of anything lightweight, and we bolted those into one side of the RV, the same side as the entire kitchen set. So now it's pretty heavy.
We bought a full-size residential refrigerator because we knew we'd knew it, but we didn't think about the fact that there was no way to power it. Like all those little things.
That was on the same side as the kitchen. So you can imagine that, I don't know, maybe 100,000 miles into this trip, we blew some leaf springs. And, but we learned a lot. But it really was the first thing we were looking for is where is everyone going to sleep, and make sure they had enough room. And I was telling Katie as we were getting ready to come on here, I wish I could go find the pictures real quick of our very first RV stop in our fifth wheel. Oh my goodness, we overstuffed that RV. Like the slides came in, and that little walk space we filled about 3 foot high with all of the things we thought we needed to bring.
Oh gosh, we had like 2 spinning wheels. We had sewing machines. We had fencing gear to like
fencing,
fence. And we had like hiking. It was just something that we had to really work through. And then after a few sites, we were like, wait a second, we don't need all of this. And I think the biggest planning that we really put into it was when we decided we were going to do this, we needed to have some sort of access to the internet. And that was the hardest thing then. And so we had, our satellite was like,
it was a HughesNet, it was a 3.5 foot, 4 foot dish that you had to manually aim, get your azimuth reading and lock into the satellite every stop. It was crazy.
It was. And so I think if you're planning, like I love now that there's social media, there's YouTube, like really find a family, or if you're an empty nester like us, find a couple that fits your jive. Like, what are they doing? How do they travel? And really the rig, how can do it? And the rig really does depend on how you want to travel. If you want to boondock, then, you really want to look at different sizes, and you want to look at compatibility. So really kind of figure out what your goals are. I think that's the biggest thing now I would suggest to people is, what do you want out of this? Do you want to be in resorts? Do you want to be roughing it and like up in the mountains? Do you want something where you can go into the city? Like really think about what you want to do, and then kind of build that rig around your dreams of how you want to travel life. That's the biggest advice.
Because like if there's a lot of people that say, I can't wait to go camping in all the state parks, and then they end up in a 45 foot beast, and you're like, good luck getting into that state park. You're not going to make it happen. So,
Oh my goodness. So, wow. A lot of that. So you guys, like when you got into this, the downsizing is a big problem. That's a huge thing. You did it in a very short amount of time. You went on a 2-week trip or whatever it may be, came back, house is sold. Stuff's rolling out the house. He's worried if he's getting divorced. Oh no, what's happening? So it's just a little totally different. So your daily life obviously has changed a ton. Your routine has changed a ton since then. Now you guys, it's your life now. You have no problems doing so. But what does that typically look like now for you? Obviously, you've done 2 different types of travel. You had one with kids, and now you have nothing with no kids. Let's stick with the no kids, because that's the life you're in right now. And I've talked to people with kids right now. So how do you manage everyday tasks, cooking, cleaning, all that, and then laundry on the road, and like how do you typically handle service as well?
Yeah. It is, it's very similar to being in a home. We both work a few hours a day. We want to make sure we get our exercising in. We have trikes, we're big bikers. We like to travel and sightsee. So it really is kind of like being in a home. We just look at the week and we say, this is what we have going on, and we make our schedule around it.
And the nice part is, like, the chores, like the dishes and everything else, are pretty scaled down. You don't, you have
like 9 dishes.
Yeah. And so it's really nice. I love doing dishes. I'm like, I'll do that one. And then it's done in like 2 minutes. You're like, yes, we're done. But, but there are days, you get busy working, and then you get busy out chatting with the neighbors, and you just don't do them. And you're like, the only downside is you're in a small house. So it only takes 9 dishes to completely destroy your house. And so you find your routine and you go with it.
And we're team washer dryer in the rig. I know that there's like 2 camps. Either you love it or you hate it. I get grossed out by laundry rooms and things. So we have a small washer dryer. We literally do a load every 2 days. So as far as that, and the cool thing is we're not mowing our lawns anymore. We're not we're not having to deep clean baseboards. It's pretty simple. So we do like that. It gives us so much more time and freedom than owning a home.
Yeah, big fan of not having to mow the lawn. I grew up, my dad was like, I had major allergies as a child, and my dad was like, well, stay upwind. like, doesn't work that way, Dad. I'm standing over the stove just to get like humidity come in, like trying to, this boiling water.
That's a total dad comment.
That is good old school parenting right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, see, I don't know. I think I got my asthma and allergies from my mom. So my dad was a hardcore farmer kid. So like, I was supposed to be that kid, but like, man, I didn't choose this biology. Like,
that's awesome.
No, it wasn't.
Internet for us is pretty simple. We use, like a Starlink and then a backup with a cell provider. So we have 2 options everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So
super easy.
Yeah. It's definitely needed for you guys, since you are content creators, and you also do some other things, and we'll get into that a little bit. The challenges you have, because living in a home, you got rid of the lawn mowing, which is fantastic. I understand that. You don't have to really check the roof the same way. You just have to check the roof on an RV. But how do you manage? Sorry, wrong question. I'm looking down here. What are some of the biggest challenges you've had faced on the road while living in an RV, and how did you overcome them? And now, how do you handle maintenance and repairs while traveling?
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenges that we face, one of the reasons why we're on the road right now is I have some pretty severe health issues that I may not be able to like live my dream life in as long as some people might get to, and be as active as some people. And so I think the biggest challenge that we've come into, and I think this is such a good question, especially for people that are in our age range and older, a lot of people say, I can't travel or do what I want because of health reasons. And so really figuring out a way to have a care team work with us. My doctors work with us. I can still travel full time. Appointments, medical things, all those things. That was a big challenge, but I don't think there's always different situations for everyone, but there isn't a challenge too big if you want to be able to do something. Yeah. And so for us, it was just really trying to figure out how can we make that work with my situation. And we've been able to make it work. I think that's been our hardest challenge.
We've had nurses fly out to us to set IVs and do treatments for her. We've had, everywhere we go, it's the first thing we're doing is looking for, where are all the medical things. So if something does happen, we know where to go, and all of that. But it is an extra step, but doing those things allow us to get out and enjoy things. Yeah. And I'd say the only other thing that's a really big challenge is, like you just mentioned, the last part of that is maintenance and things like that. You never know where you're taking your vehicle or your RV to get work done. And oh my goodness, the stories of, going in and getting an oil change, and you see the technician, they're always like, you can leave the bay. And I'm like, no, I'm staying right here while you work on my vehicle. And we saw some technician go over with the engine coolant, and as they're changing my oil and start filling it into my engine, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. They had to flush the whole engine. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's like, maintenance is so scary.
So on the RV, I think you have to kind of just take it. Like yesterday, my closet door broke and fell off, you know, and like we have a lot of problems with our RV right now that we're trying to get fixed, and we can't find someone to come help us here to fix it. And it's just, I think if you tell yourself this is just part of the life, right? Like this is just part of it, and don't get so stressed. I mean, there's been situations where we have been like in dire stress and need of a repair, but just knowing that it's part of the life and things are going to break and you have to get things fixed more than a home. And I think if you just tell yourself that, and we have this big like saying that after we start RV, like, oh gosh, the biggest mistakes make the best stories later. And that's kind of what our motto has been this whole time, is really trying to find a way to learn how to do it ourselves, but not stress, because worst case scenario, you just sleep on the side of the highway for a day.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you can get to a point where you're not stressing about it because you know there will be a solution, it'll be okay. You know, you get through it. And so
it's just part of the life. I mean, you just have to accept that's part of RV life. So.
Yeah. It's a home on wheels. Tell everybody it's things going down the road. It's a dang near 7.5 earthquake every time it goes, and hurricane force speeds every time it goes anywhere. And they're like, why is this thing falling apart? Well, it's because that's what happens. So you put your house on wheels, it wouldn't make it 10 miles. I guarantee it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just part of it. And it is what it is. I talked to the Gills on Wheels recently, and they like, it is what it is. Like, like you just got to deal with it. I got a tattoo of that right here. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's you guys sound like you've gotten at least like the run around a time or two with service. So I apologize for that. That's no fun, especially with the truck stuff. That's terrifying, because that can be astronomical as well, especially when it's in the engine bay and all that. So anyway, let's move on to financial aspects. How do you keep this thing going? Like, so how do you sustain your lifestyle financially? And are there any specific tips you'd like to offer to earning an income on the road? Because you've gone through a decade of difference, which, like I said, it was like internet on the road wasn't really a thing back then. I know they had jetpacks, like Verizon jetpacks and stuff like that. And like when I was in college, because I used those. And then what budgeting advice would you give to someone considering the full-time RV life?
Yeah, I think the very first thing is, if there is, and I always thought this sounded just so corny and unreal, but if you're passionate about something, there is a way to make money at it, period.
100%.
And the short story of this, like Katie mentioned just a second ago, our income was from me selling butterflies. They weren't live, but real butterflies. And wait, they weren't live? What do you mean? I sold them papered up so they could go into collections and be studied research.
Interesting.
But the thing is, it started as a hobby and a passion. And I got in trouble from my wife from spending too much money buying butterflies that I couldn't go out and catch myself. And some butterflies are worth thousands of dollars. And it was not, it's back when we couldn't afford to pay the utility bill at our house because we were really young and poor. And I'm buying really expensive butterflies. So she said, you better turn this around and figure out how to make money at it. And I did. And so, we travel around, and I can almost identify a moth right before it hits the windshield on the truck going down the road. And
so annoying. He's like, stop, we got to pull over.
When I see a good one, I'm like, we're going to stay here for a minute and collect these guys. And so we collect them. And, there's some places in the U.S. that have very expensive butterflies, and we research them, and it's awesome. But there's a way your passions, especially nowadays with the internet, can be turned into an income.
And I think that's kind of where we travel now. I sold my business a few years ago. So I consult for businesses now. I help brands work with influencers to be able to learn how to do marketing. And Vern consults in his old field. And we both are really passionate about those two things. And so that is how we make money now, is we just really share the things that we're passionate about and our talents to make it work. As far as budgeting goes, this is a really funny question, because we shared our budget last month for the first time, and people were freaking out because we spent $1,800 on eating out last month, because we were in Seattle, which is my city where I grew up, favorite restaurants. And the reason why we shared it, and I have a lot of friends that are sharing right now, is RVing can be any type of budget you want. You can join a membership. Like we pay $480 a year for 1,000 trails. That's all we pay. We paid it up front. now what we can do is we could camp for free all year if we wanted to. You could boondock. You can stay in 5-star resorts. You can eat out all you want. You can cook at home. And so as budget goes, I really do believe that there's a way for everyone to do it. You just have to fit it in your budget. Yeah. And for us, like, food is really important. We love eating out. That's the best part about traveling. So you can make any budget work as long as it works for you and your family. Yeah. I really do believe that. Absolutely. I mean, you're traveling, right? I mean, so there's this, are you on vacation or are you traveling because that's how you live? You know, there's two totally different things. And I've come to know this talking to dozens of y'all, you know, like the first year is like, oh, it's a vacation. No, it's not. Like, this is how you live. You better live within your means and all that. And that's interesting. I want to hear more about this butterfly thing. Cause I'm going to ask, so how much is like a monarch butterfly? Cause they used to come
a lot of monarchs through there, huh?
Yeah, in Nebraska, like full.
And, you know, and when you get down to Mexico and you see where they migrate, they get so thick they'll snap like a 1 to 2 inch branch off a tree because so many are on there. It's amazing.
Holy moly!
Those specifically don't have a high price tag, but in the U.S. there are butterflies that are several $100 to $1,000 flying around, and people are squishing them on the grill of their car all day long.
We're in Utah right now, and there's a butterfly. We used to sell just the butterfly eggs. We would go out and collect the eggs and sell the eggs to collectors because
under
they were
leaves and all that.
Yeah. Just it's wild. It's so wild.
It's so much fun. And honestly, it was, for me as a dad, it was a tool to let me get out in nature with my kids and to let us study the plants, the trees, nature, the cycles of what's going on with the weather and how that affects the insects. And honestly, now my new passion is fly fishing, and it translates perfectly because your flies are dependent on the cycle of the insects, and that's what I studied forever. So it's kind of fun.
Well, you need to spend more time in Idaho because we have some fantastic fly fishing. I'm not a great fly fisher. I'm still a rod and reel guy. It's a little easier. Give me a spin reel, I can fish all day. But like fly rods are a little tricky.
Yes,
but I'll figure it out. But yeah, I was up in Haley just recently, and it was really good fishing. So anyway, so on from the butterflies. Let's community and connection. So you guys, obviously, being 11 years on the road, you built a giant community of people, right? You've met thousands of people since you started. But how do you stay connected with friends and family? That was a little different back then. So let's talk about like a little bit back then, how you stay connected with everybody. Obviously, cell phones were a thing. So that's one thing, but you jumping around the US and all that. And then how have you found a sense of community since then? And like, has it built since then? Because the kids are gone. Has it changed since the kids have been gone? Walk us through all that.
Yeah, I think so. You know, before there weren't as many families, they started coming over the years, and we were part of a group called Families on the Road, and we met a lot of families that way, and you kind of stuck together, and we all were part of certain memberships of camping. So we knew we'd see them in the winter, probably in Orlando or in Texas.
We would even go a state or two out of our way to go have a birthday party with the family. So, you know, you kept up. And I think keeping up with our family, we tried really hard in the primitive ways of the website, you know, to internet, to have a website that kept track and the family could easily see where we were going. And then phone calls, just trying to keep them in the loop. But, you know, I think we were there pre-Facebook. And once Facebook came out and we could start, you know, connecting through that, made it so much easier. So,
and I think it's easy to find, you know, I think we met a couple in Florida, and they had been RVing for about 2 months, they said, and they were calling it quits. They're like, we haven't met anybody. We're super lonely. And Vern said, oh, well, how often are you out walking around and meeting people? And they said, oh, we don't really go out. And I think as far as meeting community, it's really easy if you put yourself out there. Being able to just walk the campground, you meet friends. Instagram is amazing. Facebook is amazing. TikTok's amazing because you start to meet other families, you find accounts, you connect, you meet up. Marco Polo is huge for me. I Marco Polo several ladies that are RVers probably 100 times a day. Bless his heart. It's fun. So there is a good community out there, especially for families, I think, because it's so important to keep those kids together all the time. But we really haven't had an issue with that. There's a lot of ways to meet new families. There's escapees, there's membership groups, there's Discord groups. So we really have had a great time meeting a lot of new friends on the road.
And honestly, even through Instagram, we meet so many families, and even families who haven't got on the road yet, but are looking for that info.
Yes.
I mean, we have lunches all the time. We'll stop along our route and go meet someone and go hang out and say hello.
I just met a family a few weeks ago, or about a week ago, that a couple that wanted to RV, and they found us on Instagram and said, hey, we see you're in Washington, and we met up and just had lunch. So it is so nice because social wise, you can use social media to stay connected.
Yeah, it's a huge difference nowadays. I mean, unfortunately, it's a blessing and a curse, in my opinion, because there's two aspects here. One, I'm connected as we're the most connected we'll ever be, and that's only going to get worse from here, right? It's but then again, you also lose a little bit of the actual human interaction piece.
Yeah,
and people I come from the world of I'm going to approach you and talk to you. Doesn't matter who it is. Problem is, people it's like social anxiety has gotten higher because the rate is going up like this, and no one knows how to have a normal conversation in person anymore.
Yes,
it's a brutal.
I do
world
enjoy that challenge. I love walking the campground and just going up and saying hi to people, and it is funny how they're exactly those two types, and it's almost generational. I hate to say that, but you really can't. The old timers will just talk your head off.
Oh, yeah.
And some others are like, well, here's our Instagram handle. Just message us anytime. I'm like, well, no, I'm right here. Let's talk. But I love it. I love getting out and meeting people and just seeing why they're traveling, where they're going, and finding new things. So.
Yeah, so it's just a different world we live in now.
Yes.
And it's only getting weirder, but I'm here for it. It's exciting stuff. So along the way, 11 years on the road, you've had some incredible experiences, I'm sure. What are some of your favorite places that you've been? What are some coolest things you've been a part of? You said you did the fueling up on friends thing, which is super cool for the kids. That would have been wonderful for me. I was, like I said, social butterfly. It was actually worse when I was a child. It was pretty bad. I would just disappear in the crowds, and my mom hated it because I was just like, whatever. It didn't bother me. I'm pretty social. I'll be all right.
That's so good.
Yeah, but other than that, what? I got one other question to add on top of that.
Yeah,
one other question to add on top. What are some unexpected benefits that you come to know from this as well?
Why don't you hit your favorite place? I'll do the benefits, or switch.
My favorite place is New Orleans. It can't be summer. It's pretty hot down there and muggy, but I love the people. I love the food, and I love the culture of everyone. You go down there, you can't meet a stranger. Everyone there is just friendly and talk your head off. And I don't know. We've had so many stories. I think my favorite thing when we first started RVing there, we wanted to find the most authentic food from New Orleans, and
red beans and rice,
something good. And we kept going to these restaurants. We would ask everyone, where do you get it? And we were talking to a policeman on the road, and he's like, well, you're not going to get any better food than at my mama's house. And I said, well, is that an invite? And he said, sure, come on out. And so he took us out to his mama's house.
Middle of the bayou, an hour away.
It was unbelievable. It was a tiny little mobile home that she had divided. She slept in half of it, and the other half was a 2 or 3 table restaurant she served all of her neighbors at. Oh, the story is it's amazing. So but I love being down in New Orleans. So
yeah. The most unexpected benefit, I think, as a couple now, we kind of hit that empty nester stage. Our baby is 25 and our oldest is 31. And we were kind of like, gosh, what are we going to do with our life now? We've been parents our whole life. And so I think unexpected is that we just have this whole new chapter. We're really into bucket lists. We actually we finished our bucket list that we made when we were 24 and 25 about 5 months ago. And we just created our new bucket list, and having the opportunity to just say, okay, I want to do this. I want to live this way. I want to have this adventure. Yeah. It gives us that opportunity to do it because we don't really have anything parameters we have to live in. We're able to live wherever and do whatever. And then I think as far as a couple and with our kids, you are in 400 square feet, and Vern always jokes and says it magnifies everything positive or negative.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to really build relationships and bond and become each other's best friend and just really connect. You have all the distractions are gone. the neighbors, activities, callings, like all these different things you have to do. And I think for me, that was the biggest unexpected with kids and with each other.
Was the bonding.
That we truly get to just focus on our relationships. And that's what's the most important thing. And I think that for me has been the biggest.
Because you really, it forces you to be present and to pay attention. And I tell you, especially with the families on the road that are out there, it can really help you with your kids' relationship. I mean, but like Katie just mentioned, my thing about RVing is the simple thing is it magnifies your relationship. If you have a really good relationship, it's just going to magnify it. If there is trouble, it's going to magnify it. So you just be ready for that and work on improving and making things better. So,
and yes, dear.
Exactly.
I haven't had that. I'm still single, so let
me just go back really quick. People sometimes are like, I cannot believe you did that to your husband. That's terrible. The good thing is I knew Vern was such a slow guy that he was like, okay, I got it. And sometimes when we tell that story, I'm like, man, I sound like such a awful life.
I just tell people I'm the victim here, and so
yeah.
But it's the best thing that's ever happened, right?
Yeah.
You guys seem so happy, so I don't think it's that bad. Oh gosh, I was going to add to that. So I've heard that several times. Yeah, I heard that several times that like it's going to magnify emotions left or right, up or down, whatever, which way you look at it. But it also forces you to you have to act upon it. You can't run away.
Yes.
You can go for a walk, but you got to come back. Like you can't just far,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I can't just disappear. Like you got to kind of confront those things because it's right here. It's in the way, and it's obviously apparent tension so thick you can cut it with a knife type deal, but anyway, that's what I've heard. You guys are with your kids, with your parents, like with your family all the whole time. Like there's a growth pattern that's totally different than, again, staying at home, because I can remember when I grew up, my oldest sister and I didn't speak until she was like 25, and we're only 5 years apart. If I did speak, she'd stop the car, slap me. Like that's how it was. Now we're like best friends. But honestly, I was a little ornery, so I probably earned it. But I mean, not every time. She was just I was fun, outgoing. She was grr. But anyway, so yeah, she's gonna love this. I'm gonna send this portion to her. but yeah, so it creates a better bond for your family, which is the more I talk to you guys, I've always kind of had the nomadic lifestyle anyway. I love traveling. I end up doing this because I don't see the whole benefit of just living in the neighborhood with people you don't even want to be around, and there's people, like-minded people like yourselves. You're outgoing, so you're meeting all these cool people, community connection. You're going to be around the right people. These people want the best for their family and their kids. They want the same thing. It's going to be a lot totally different community lifestyle, which is going to make everything better.
Yeah.
In the long run, hopefully better or worse, negative or positive. You'll find out real quick if you want to stay together and go on the road. But 11, 12 years later, you guys are still killing it. So that's good.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So changing to the subject a little bit, because it's been, 12 years since you did this. Now, since you started, or 11 years since you started this whole journey in the RV life and the full-time RV. So if you were to look back and talk to yourself then, like I could say to myself 10 things, 10 years ago, by all means, I could say so many things. But if you were looking back at yourself and like, hey, this is what you need to know, these 4 things before you start this full-time journey, like what would that be? So like advice for beginners is the question, but looking at yourselves, because you were beginners back then, what would you say to yourself?
Well, I think the very first thing would be, don't let your fears stop you. Because like I wouldn't go back and warn myself about any of the mistakes I made, I don't think, because I love looking back at those mistakes and seeing how we came through them together. But I wouldn't want any hesitation on getting on the road. And I'm sure there's a lot of other avenues that are good to bond families together, but this particular experience, I think everyone should experience it. Give it 1 or 2 years at least, but go do it and don't hesitate, because it's powerful. Get out there. Like Katie said, regardless of what your budget is, it will fit. So just go do it and don't hesitate. And it will be the most amazing story that you have for your life later. So I mean, I can't wait till I'm an old man in a rocking chair somewhere telling everyone all my stories. Everyone's going to think I'm the biggest liar. I'm like, sorry, it happened, man. It happened. So
it's on social. We'll find it.
Yeah, exactly.
It ain't going nowhere.
I think for me, there'd be two. One, don't sweat it. Like when things are going to happen, I wish I would have been better at going like, oh gosh, like my door just fell off my RV when I was driving. Like, it's going to happen. Let it go. And then I think halfway through our adventuring, we kind of took on this persona that we're like America's guest, is what we would use to laugh and say, hey, we're America's guest. And so like, I don't know if you know what the Rainbow Room is, or Whiskey A Go-Go down in LA. Whiskey A Go-Go is like where all of like the top, like Aerosmith and Bon Jovi, they all got their like start. It's this really cool club.
It's a vintage, awesome club.
So cool. And you
love it there.
Wait in line, you got to be dressed to the T. And I really wanted my kids to experience that. And granted, they were 14, 12, 10, and 8 at the time.
Yeah, they were young.
And we just went and we found the owner and we're like, dude, I know that you have to be 21 to come in, but I really want to experience this with my kids, you know, and just ask. And he let us in that night. And my kids went to their first club at the freaking Whiskey A Go-Go. Like, how cool is that to go? Yeah. And just to really if you're going to do it, don't just get in an RV and sit in an RV. So many people do that. Like you're America's guest. Like out. Even if you're not in an RV, figure out what you want to do. Like if that's what you want to do, go and do it and use the RV as the tool. The RV is not how we live. The RV is the tool to get us to do what we want. Yeah. But just kind of take on that persona. Like I can do what I want. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to work and figure out a way. And we've had some of the craziest experiences because we're like, oh, we're America's guest. Like, yeah, we should do this. And you just do it. And it's changed our whole outlook on life by living that way.
Yeah. Got on the price right. Got to go up and win some items. It was awesome. You know, there's so many good things out there. So
you were on Price is Right?
Yes, I was.
What?
Go up for the showcase.
Poor guy, though. We were in the front row and they called his name and he's like, there's nowhere to run. So he runs to the very back.
Because I mean, what's the best part about that is watching the contestants run so excited. But I was at the very front. So I ran to the back because I wanted a full run. I only get to do this once. And about halfway down, my mind and all the excitement's like, you know what's going to be cool? I'm going to do a front flip. And it's going to look good on TV. So I just did it. And about midair, I reminded myself I don't know how to do a front flip. And so I hit so hard. And poor Drew Carey's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Let's do this. This is great.
I'm YouTubing it right now. Front flip on Price is Right. Yeah, it's got to be on there.
Fun. And you just have to really live life and enjoy life. Yeah. And I think that's something that if I could tell anyone, especially kind of with some of the challenges that I've run into, I know so many people in my like medical world and support groups are home all day in bed. They're not doing anything. And I think it's so important for us to, no matter what your challenge is or whatever's stopping you, don't let it stop you. Just if you want to do it, do it. Just make it happen.
There's so many amazing things to do out there. Just start somewhere and go do it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys started with a sight unseen fifth wheel, never bought it. And he's like, knew nothing about it. And you're 10 years later, you're still doing it. I've heard everybody's like, I have one person like, oh, we're going to do it for 1 year, 5 years later, still doing it. You know, they upgraded 3 times. So we started like, we're going to do a 2-year road trip with our family because we want to spend more time with our children, you know, get those pivotal moments when they're 1 to 5 years old. 5 years later, they're still doing it. I mean, it's a time and time again, everybody that I talk to, obviously, you know, I talk to people because of Instagram socials that, you know, they've built a lifestyle out of what they're doing. But I'm sure there's people out there that don't do the socials that have been doing this for a long, long time. And I would love to get some of those people on here, but I mean, you know, not having a following, it's I can't find them. I have no idea who they are.
Our best friends have been, we met them on the road. They've been on the road because we took a break. You know, we stopped.
Let the kids finish growing up.
We had one that went to school for a year, like the rest of them homeschooled their whole life and all the things. And they've been on the road for 25 years, our friends. Like they never stopped. And they started with kids and they're still going. That's a long time.
They're traveling. We have ones that are traveling the world right now, backpacking all over remote areas of the world. There's so many adventures to be had out there. And if people can understand that their fear is mostly just a comfort zone that they're afraid to step out of, just step out of it. I mean, what's going to happen? Worst case scenario, you get right back in your rut and keep going. And you have one cool story. But you might step out of that comfort zone and realize this is amazing out here. And that's your new normal. Your new normal is abnormal, and it's awesome. So
yeah. Abby Normal.
Exactly.
You know that one?
Yep.
Young Frankenstein, Abby Normal.
Yep.
Oh, awesome, guys. So, well, yeah, I mean, just do it is one thing, but yeah, it's a big change, as a beginner, like you don't know exactly what to do. Finding the right RV is a huge thing. Finding the right truck to tow your RV is another huge thing. Try to pay for most of it all cash is another huge thing. It's tough because it could be very expensive if you don't do it properly. You guys paying $500 a year for 1,000 trails and then being paid for the year, that's a huge thing. Boondocking, another huge thing. Save a ton of money. There's all sorts of different ways to save money doing this. Can be expensive though because gas isn't cheap. It is what it is. But if you stay work camp, I'm a work camper now. It's just so many different ways to make money and make it a lifestyle that you can sustain quite easily. And it might happen for a lot longer than you think it's going to happen. So
yes.
Future plans, where are you guys going next? What are you heading to? How do you see this evolving for yourselves?
What is the future plan?
We have some awesome future plans. We just changed our plans last night, actually. We have been
and they'll change again in a month. But
we've been looking for a truck camper. We want a second home. So we're going to be getting a truck camper to do Alaska. We love wintering in Mexico, but we decided last night that we're going to change up this year and use our RV every few months. We're headed to Europe for 4 months. We're going to come back. We have twin grandkids being born next week and a granddaughter being born in a couple days.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Europe for a few months, come back in the RV, go back to Bali for a while, come back to the RV.
Yeah. Go back to Bali.
We're going to do some things. We love Bali. It's amazing, and it's really
so inexpensive to live in Bali. Oh my goodness! So we'll go for it. So we're kind of gonna use our RV as our home base, but do a lot of traveling for like 3 or 4 months and come back and spend a month with our grandkids. Yeah. So we're gonna be doing some world traveling and then come back by our second home, which is the truck camper.
Because we want to go up to Alaska and tour around, and then take that down and go tour Mexico and South America with it, and just go play. So.
Got a big year and a half coming up. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Bali's been on top of my list for a long time. And problem is it's just far enough away for me to where it's like,
it's a long.
If I go, I gotta go for like 2 weeks, and like I gotta be there for 2 weeks. Like I just know that, and it's like, but I do so many other things. I'm a jack of all trades, master of few. But
I will tell you,
I want to go see all these things.
The thing about our Bali trip that we love, like for one of the last bucket list Katie and I had was hitting all 50 states by the time we were 50. And so Hawaii has never happened because it's so far out there and it's so expensive. So we finally did it. But we were there a week.
We were a week in Hawaii, and we were in Bali for almost
a month.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
And we spent more in Hawaii for a week than we did in Bali for 5 weeks. So we're like, man, Bali is the place to be.
Yeah. It's insane. It's insane, the difference. So yeah, we love it there.
Well, you got the 50 by 50, so that's good. I've heard that a time or two. A couple other people working on that. So good for them. Good for y'all. Happy for you. I've not been in all 50. I've been in most of them, passing through, whether but not actually staying or anything. So, all right, let's get into the favorite gadgets you have, because I mean, you've been doing 10 years. You have some cool stuff you've come to make your lifestyle easier. So maybe it could be something with the fridge, could be something that you use in the bathroom, or something underneath, that's makes storage easier. What are some of those things that you guys have? And I'm guessing they might be in your link tree. We don't have
a lot in there. Our link tree is a little empty. We're redoing things right now.
We're working on it.
That's okay.
The trikes.
We use our trikes every day. For us, we cook outside a lot, so we bring a Blackstone, a Traeger, and a grill everywhere with us.
And that's another thing that I was way not on board with, like 3 huge cooking things in an RV, but she utilizes them, and so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But
gosh,
we
honestly,
just did the shower that we love.
Yeah, we just have a new we just did the Stow-It shower, which is so awesome to have the new shower door.
It just opens the whole bathroom up. So bathrooms are small in RVs, but it feels so much more open now. I love that.
We got rid of 85 pounds when we got rid of that.
Yeah, those glass doors are so heavy. Oh my gosh.
I think is a must for us, having our Starlink.
And now Katie has done, a lot of remodeling in the RV. She is addicted to making sure I don't have a lot of free time.
I have the cutest RV in the whole world.
That's an opinion.
It is an opinion.
So she is. So a lot of the gadgets are her creative ideas, and even like just above the TV here, just the cabinetry and doing the wickering on the doors and the pine trim. I mean, she really personalizes RVs, and I will say, like the RV we're in now we bought brand new, and her remodel involved me throwing away the 2 couches that came in it that were brand new and the kitchen table that was brand new, and it hurt my soul because I'm like, they're brand new. I couldn't find anyone that needed them because no one ever needs stuff when you have it. And so we literally just had to take brand new couches and drop them and put in the one she wanted and remodel and repaint. And so
I think the one thing, though, that a lot of people don't do, and I think it's just so critical after, we've owned every style of RV except, we've had driving, pull behinds, travel trailers, pop-ups. We've never had a truck camper. And the one thing that I think people forget is how important a dehumidifier is. Like, that is the one gadget that I think all RVers need. That, when we look at our friends and issues they've had, I would say the dehumidifiers, like, not our favorite gadget, but the most needed gadget for sure.
A lot. Yeah, I've installed on our last RV, and I'm doing it on this one, surround camera systems on the outside of the rig for safety wise. It's amazing. It's called Taddy Brothers, but it's 360-degree camera. So while I'm driving down the road, a screen in the RV shows me in the truck shows me a bird's eye view of my rig. I can see every traffic around me, and it's recording. So if an accident does happen, whether it's a side impact, rear impact, or front, I have it on video and have that proof. That gives me a huge peace of mind. But the second thing it does is when we're boondocking, whether it's Walmart parking lot or out in the middle of nowhere in a field, I constantly have screens being recorded around the rig. So if there's a knock at the door at night, I don't have to open it to see who's there. I can look on my bedroom TV screen and see who's outside my rig. So I love that one.
I think, too, one more thing we're really excited about. We just started a partnership with, they're called air skirts, since we're going to be wintering all winter, and they are blow-up air skirts, and those will be here in a few days. We are so excited about
I know, because it's starting to freeze here, and so it's like, oh, we need those quick. So,
yeah, I just saw that the other day. I can't remember who it was, but I've never seen them before, and I was like, well, that's a great idea. If you have heated air through there the whole time, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, we're super excited. Great company. Really excited about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of gadgets out there now. So,
well, I mean, it's becoming more apparent of a thing for people living in RVs. Like, I'd love to get some ground just to like have an RV park. Why? Because people are going to live there, guaranteed. Like, it's going to be filled. It will happen for sure, and it's not a big expense to have it. Right? No. Just buying the ground. That's the expensive part. Yeah. But yeah, it's buying an RV and living in an RV because the housing market is, so crazy right now. And it's just a tougher life to get into. But you can buy an RV.
Yeah.
Hit the road. Absolutely. So a totally different ballgame. And then they're obviously marketing towards that. It's changing, whatever it be, security cameras, security locks, all those things. So awesome, guys. That's awesome. Are there a couple of those in your link tree then?
You know what? We're just redoing it. They'll be up soon.
They will be. If they're not there now, they will be soon. We're finalizing drafts of the link tree and the website right now.
Our site.
Perfect. Website right here. Guys, give them a follow. Check them out. You can check out their Instagrams, which is right here. And then you can check out their link tree as well, which is in their Instagram and their TikTok. We've had those kind of shuffling through the whole time here. Nice. But last question. I ask everybody this. We've kind of touched on a couple reasons, but what is your why? Why do you keep doing this? Why? I know why you kind of started. Well, actually, no, we didn't really cover why you started. It was more of a kind of whim and a prayer, like you kind of wanted to do it. But why do you? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why do you keep it up? Why do you keep going and keep doing this full-time RV life?
Well, I think for me, after it was forced on me in a nice way. I will say in hindsight, my wife has been right about all these big decisions that I was hesitant on.
You're recording this, right? Did you?
Yes, dear. Yes, dear.
This has RVing around to see people in all different lifestyles and different cultures. It's just restored my faith in humanity. I love meeting people. I love hearing their stories. I love seeing that they're going to persevere and make things work. And for me, being able to do that with the love of my life, knowing that who knows how much time we have here, I'm not going to wait till I'm 75, 80 and have put enough of a nest egg away that I can, in my crippled walk, in my walking cane, go out and try to enjoy a few things that I can reach. I want to do it now, and I want to do it while we have the energy and the passion for it. And if it sustains all the way till we're 80 or 90, great. But at least we're going to start now, and I'm going to enjoy every second I can with her.
We don't have regrets, and we aren't going to have the same life as a lot of people in the future. And I never want to say, oh, I wish I would have done that. And it's so easy to say, I'm going to wait till I retire. But so many people don't have that opportunity. And we just decided we are going to live with no regrets, and we're going to hit our bucket list off, because you can do it. You don't have to wait until you retire. You can go on vacations. You can do it what we're doing to be semi-retired, but we don't want any regrets. We want to be able to say we did everything we wanted to do.
That's awesome, because a lot of people don't get a chance to do that. They never leave their county. They never leave their city. They never leave their street half the time. There's a ton of people out there do that. I couldn't do it. The first time when I started making money, I was like, see ya, I'm gone. I got to get out of this state.
Yes. Got to reward yourself for making that money. So go out and play.
Work hard, play harder. That's, obviously within your means, I've put myself in a hole before because of play, but it's okay. That's all right. Anything else you guys like that? You guys have been wonderful to talk to you. It's been an absolutely wonderful time in the last hour.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If it's something, this doesn't have to be everybody's dream to live it this way in an RV. But if you have a dream, that's kind of the whole point of us having social media. If you have a dream, make it happen. It doesn't have to look like ours. But whatever your dream is, don't put it aside. Just do it.
You can make it happen. Just jump out of that comfort zone. Go do it.
Yeah. As far as we know, we only get one chance at this life. Might as well do what you want to do.
Right.
Do what makes you happy, right? And I'm working on that. We're still working on that. I'm not unhappy, but I could be happier.
Lots of time.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully we got lots of time. You never know. The road home might be rough today. All right. Well, check out the Nomad Nesters on their website. They are working on it, so bear with them on that. But they have Linktree as well on their socials, their Instagram. Check them out, guys. And again, today is being brought to you by BishFix. This is our internal service platform. It's up there in the corner. Sorry, I'm still working on the whole thing. Right, is our internal service platform. You can sign up right now with promo RV Voice, get 60% off on that, and that's for a year membership. So that being said, guys, thank you so much. Kati and Vern, you are a wonderful couple to talk to. I had a great time talking to you guys. But if there's nothing else, guys, please stay tuned for more from the RV Voice, and we'll see you soon.